Welcome to Inside Boxing's Throwdown. My name is Steve Johnson. I will soon be joined by my co-host Eric Sugarfoot Duran and Aurelio Martinez. On today's show, we will have three segments. The first segment, we'll talk a little bit about last night's Showtime boxing card, where they had excellent bouts. Next, we will we'll discuss again some of the upcoming bouts, such as Manny Pacquiao and Brandon Rios, Lucas Matisse and Danny Garcia. We will also get into the bout coming up with Juan Manuel Marquez, Timothy Bradley, and then we'll end up with what I know you all are waiting for. We'll talk a little bit about Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. We'll be right back, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Inside Boxing's Throwdown. Steve Johnson here on my right, Eric Duran on my left. We've been talking about some very hot topics in the past, and now we want to come back and talk about the fight, the one, okay? Saul Alvarez versus Money Mayweather, okay? Floyd Mayweather. And it's just something that's been talked about ever since the fight was signed. It's been on everyone's mind. It's been on everyone's lips. Hot topic, and I think it's just going to be one of them fights. So, guys, let's go ahead and talk about this fight. A lot of things since our last segment, talking about this particular fight. A lot of things have happened. They went on their tour. They went to different places. I think we're finding out that Canelo Alvarez is getting a lot of fans that are coming out and supporting him, and I'm talking in big numbers, okay? I think we're finding out that whether you guys agree or disagree, the shit talking that you get from the Floyd Mayweather camp is just not working, okay? For whatever reasons it may be. But anyway, let's get into this whole card subject. And one thing I want to start off before we actually get into particulars of the fighting and why we think, I want to talk a little bit about the revenue coming in. You read on all these websites about how Floyd's going to make the $90 million plus. It was even in Forbes magazine. Okay, so we'll talk about that, about the revenues coming in. We'll talk about the odds and who's favored, how they're favored, and what you guys think about the odds. We'll talk about the fight itself. Let's talk about the revenue, guys. Okay.
I'll start us off. You said 90 million.
Forbes. That was in Forbes magazine.
Well, Forbes is a pretty smart, magazine. I don't know if I'd go against them. 90 million. I think so. I mean, I think we're talking 2 million pay-per-views. When Floyd fights, Vegas makes $1 billion in his weekends. I don't know if you guys want to, do the research. Vegas does $1 billion in revenue when Floyd fights. They might triple that. I'll be there fight weekend. I was unable to get a ticket. It's going to cost me between $100 and $125 to watch it on a TV per person. Not $70 to invite everyone over and watch it in the confines of your home. $120 per person to watch it in Vegas.
Well, if you're talking closed circuit at a hotel,
exactly,
you better have your ticket because them been sold out.
Exactly. So that's the thing. We don't know how much more, not millions, billions it's gonna generate. So if this generates $5 billion, you think Floyd in his closed circuit, he doesn't have his hand in those pockets too? I think 90 million is easily made.
Yeah, no, you're talking about revenue generated as a whole, and I'm talking about what revenue Floyd is actually going to put in his pocket. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Forbes magazine reported 90 million, and it was based on 150 million sales. Okay, that's what they use as far as references for numbers. So if you take the 150 million sales at $69 per pay-per-view, okay, you get your $90 million. Okay, all that money's not going to Floyd. Okay, so I don't know where Forbes was coming from as far as, Floyd is guaranteed, $40 million from the promoter. Okay, that's a guarantee. That's what he's going to get guaranteed. And he's guaranteed a percentage of the pay-per-views, okay, of the pay-per-view sales. So what they're saying is you guarantee him the $40 million and a percentage of the pay-per-view sales. They're saying he could make $90 million. But what they fail to tell you is that $40 million guaranteed is from the pay-per-view sales, because that's the revenue that comes in. Now, whoever's hosting the show, whoever's the uplink, the satellite, the pay-per-view provider, okay, they've got to make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it's worked in the past, okay, and I'm telling you this from experience because I owned U.S. Satellite International for a decade, okay. The pay-per-view providers, whether it be HBO, Showtime, whoever the pay-per-view providers is going to take half of that money, okay? Because they're the ones that are going to do the uplinking, they're going to do that. Okay, so now you don't have $90 million. You have half of that, okay? So you take away the $40 million estimated that's guaranteed, not estimated, that's guaranteed to Floyd. Okay, you take that off, and then he's going to get a percentage of whatever's left. Let's not forget the promoter got to get his money. Because the promoter's guaranteeing him $40 million, so he's got to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in reality, Floyd will probably make $50 million because it's not going to be 150 million sales. It's going to be, I agree with you, it's going to be 200 plus in a month.
Well, Mike Chris Tucker was $50 million. Who's he got? Chelsea Clinton? Let me tell you, I think that I've long thought that anyone really with a microscopic piece of brain would know that $90 million is just a number that they've thrown out there. Forbes, like you said, they might be talking about, all the revenues that come in and all that, but we know, like you said, and I think that hits the nail right on the head, all that money doesn't go to Floyd. This pie is divided up, and when it ends, I think somewhere between $50 and $60 million might be it. I would be surprised if someone told me the actual number was 48 million. I think that would be more in line with the, this 90 million. But regardless, it's going to be.
Well, 50 million. Look at here we are. Here we are arguing about millions. But
that's why I said
he'll make his 50 because he's guaranteed 40 million.
Well, like I said,
he's guaranteed 40 million.
It is going to break all the pay-per-view records. Something that Floyd prides himself on. And once again, I agree with you 100%. I hate to always agree with you, but I agree with you that the tour has shown the Mayweather camp that as popular as he thinks he is, Canelo Alvarez is really the more popular right at this point.
Well, I tell you,
we'll see how it comes out.
He's got a fan base that follows him.
It's pretty much unbelievable the fan base that he's got
everywhere he goes, and naturally we know he's going to get the fan base in Texas,
exactly,
and California and stuff. But he's starting to show a big fan base back east wherever he's going. I mean,
well, and here's what you also got to look at is we've talked about this before with Mayweather and Broner. The people showing up for Canelo are the people who love him. Well, there's a lot of people who hate Floyd Mayweather. Those guys ain't gonna go to the press conference.
True.
But they're gonna buy the pay-per-view.
You better believe it.
So we gotta count. We gotta do some adjusting here and realize there's gonna be a lot of people who really don't know who Alvarez is, hates Mayweather, so they're gonna buy the pay-per-view just to see it.
Right.
But they're not gonna show up to the press conferences. They're not gonna buy the T-shirts, take the pictures, promote it. But they're gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Another thing that in the hype, Floyd's a master at getting into the heads of their opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. In a lot of his early fights, he already had won the fight before they even stepped into the ring because of how he gets into the other team's head. It's not working with Floyd. Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is he really don't understand what he's saying.
Okay,
he don't understand what he's saying, so it's got to go through an interpreter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the interpreter is probably doing a good job and not just coming out and saying, "Hey, listen." He's probably saying, "Well, he's saying you're pretty good," or whatever. I don't know what the case is, but it's not working. Now, granted, we still got a ways to the fight, and it may change. Floyd may also be taking Spanish lessons, so he can come out and come out with some Spanish.
That final press conference.
You seen what he did with Oscar when he came out with the sombrero and the red, white, and green.
Man.
Fantastic move. Fantastic move. So Floyd's always got something up his sleeve to get into the other person's head, and don't count him out. Don't count him out.
And also, I'm a firm believer that Floyd in this last, after we saw following the Robert Guerrero fight, there was a transformation. In my opinion, there was a transformation, and I think after that, you remember that Floyd said that he doesn't have many more fights left, and that he looks to go into broadcasting or whatever. I think that was laying the groundwork to let you know that he's trying to change his image so that he can move into broadcasting without having so much of that bad boy image. Because you remember after the Guerrero fight, the most striking thing to me is that you remember Floyd Sr. was going off.
Yeah.
And you remember he grabbed him and said, Dad, come on over here. Don't get into that anymore. I think that's the thing. But like you said, he still has something up his sleeve that's going to maybe jolt, Canelo a little bit. And it's going to have something to do with his portraying himself as a lover of the Mexican heritage like he likes to do. Like you said, Eric, and I think you're 100% right. He loves to fight on Mexican independence and Cinco de Mayo.
Smart business.
Yeah, of course.
Smart business.
I mean, because the fighters that he's fighting in that are top of the division are having to be of Mexican heritage. So it makes it just more of a reason for the people that hate him, to come out and watch him. But I'll let you go a little bit further before we start talking about the fight specifically, because I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Let's talk about the odds right now. You brought up the odds. So
talk about odds.
Canelo has opened up as an underdog, but only as a plus 240. Anyone who bets that's basically between a 2 to 3 to 1 underdog. That's showing a lot of respect towards Alvarez. Guerrero, I believe, was a 7 to 1 underdog.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even Miguel Cotto was between a 5 and a 6 to 1 underdog.
Exactly.
So you're telling me that Alvarez is only a 2 to 3
At
underdog?
23 years old?
Those people in Vegas, older men with the white hair, we say if Floyd has some tricks up his sleeve, they got some tricks up their sleeve too. And that's what I'm saying is Floyd is going to make, I think he's going to make more than 50 million, because I think there's just some other, he might take 5 million and bet it on himself.
Ooh,
You know what I mean?
Can't do that.
Hey,
Let's not tell anybody anyway.
Exactly.
He'll be up there with Pete Rose.
It happens. It happens. We don't know what he's doing behind the doors. But like I said, people are starting to respect Alvarez, and I think that's going to fuel Floyd Mayweather. I think Floyd's going to see, it's only 2 to 1, and
Well,
he's going to come out and have something to prove.
Well, that goes to support. Vegas. People talk about when an underdog wins in Vegas. They said, well, Vegas took a bath. They took a real big hit. Vegas don't take a hit.
Yeah.
Odds are determined by money coming in. Okay,
Right.
So like you said, Eric, Alvarez is plus 240. So if you bet $100, you're gonna get $240 in return. Whereas Floyd, you have to bet $280 to win 100. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a lot of money coming into this thing, so you may see them odds change a little bit as people start betting more and more on the underdog to try to get a little bit of more buck for their money, for their bet. So, but you say very respectable, because how many people even gave Guerrero a chance? Everybody
Not too many
knew.
gave him a chance.
Everybody knew he was begging for this fight. He just needed that paycheck. That's all he wanted. He knew just like so many of Floyd's opponents, they're following him because he's the money man. Okay, not so much that they're going to beat him. Not so much they're going to shock the world.
He's their lottery.
He's the lottery. He's their ticket. So in this case, people were giving Canelo a heck of a chance. They're giving him a heck of a chance, and that's the difference in this fight.
Well, let me say this. I'm not now, and I've never been a big odds guy. Mainly because, as you said, rightfully so, the bookies, the Las Vegas bookies,
They're not gonna lose.
they make their money regardless. Okay, it really doesn't matter to them. I think in this particular fight, most of the fans are like me, who don't bet a dime on it. We just want to see the fight. Okay, and so I will go by what the number of fans that I talk to on a regular basis. Most of us do feel that this is a win-win fight for Canelo Alvarez. He loses, he's lost to a guy that's a Hall of Famer who has dominated the boxing scene for more than a decade. It'll be a learning experience. For Floyd, I think that this for him is just showing that here's the young buck on the scene. You guys this is the fight that the fans wanted. You called for it. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give him a boxing lesson.
Exactly. And I just rewatched Canelo Alvarez versus Austin Trout 2 nights ago. It was they were doing a replay on Showtime.
Well, let me ask you, how many times have you watched the fight now?
I've watched it about 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
I still believe Alvarez won the fight, as close as it may be, but I saw a lot of glaring mistakes in his game. He tired out. There was a lot of lull in action. He was able to dictated the pace of the fight towards him. Trout was able to dictate the fight. The thing that saved him was his power punching. And the thing that saved him was Trout didn't adjust. Everyone who knows Mayweather knows he's going to dictate the pace of the fight. He's going to make the adjustments. And he's going to try to get into your head and take you off your game and fall into a comfortable role and just take over. The thing I want to see, though, is how does Alvarez respond to this?
Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, let's talk about keys to victory. Okay, Steve, give me the keys to victory for Alvarez. Give me the keys to victory for Mayweather.
Okay, let me start with Mayweather first. The key to victory is his experience. Okay, continue to box Canelo. Make him work because, as you said, he's known to fade. He's known to have lulls, and Floyd capitalized on those lulls, and make him fight through the lulls. Canelo has to prove he can do that. Like you said, in the fight with Trout, Canelo was able to. Canelo was able to get that fight. Razor-thin fight. I thought the knockdown won it for him. Okay,
Yes.
but let's go back to it. The keys to victory for Canelo. Okay, the first thing that he's had to. I hope he's been working on through this time is stamina. Watching the fight, so it's widely shown on YouTube that he's watched the fight with Ortiz. He's watched the fight with Trout. He's got to be able to see that the number one thing with Floyd is that he's making you work, and when he sees you lapse a little bit, that's when he goes to work. So Canelo is going to have to be in the best condition of his life, where he's able to sustain pressure on Floyd because he's the bigger and the stronger man. So he's going to have to pressure him where Floyd can't use his boxing experience and just ring experience to his total advantage.
Okay, Eric, keys to victory.
The keys for victory for Floyd Mayweather is he needs to stay off the ropes and he needs to stay out of the corners. He can't allow himself to get trapped to where Alvarez can explode with those body shots and somehow, somewhere catch him with one of those big right hands. So he has to stay in the middle of the ring. He's a smart fighter. I can say he has to be a smart fighter. We already know Floyd's going to fight smart. You know what I mean? But he has to be maybe a little bit more on his P's and Q's. Know when the ropes are behind you, know when he's in the corner. But for Canelo, he has to learn to cut off the ring. I think he has to establish a jab. And I think he needs not to listen to anyone, throw any game plan out the window, and go out there and go for the knockout. Because like you said, he's in a win-win situation. Go out there and step on the gas pedal, and let's see what Floyd has. You know what I mean? The last time we saw what Floyd has was maybe Castillo, maybe Corrales. He's a bigger fighter than those two guys. Go after Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? Don't read internet websites and talk shows and do this, do that. Go after him. Put him in a dogfight. Because Alvarez has been in dogfights before. We can't question his toughness. Go in there and put him in a dogfight, and let's see if Floyd has a bigger bark and a bigger bite.
Okay. Keys to victory for Canelo.
That was my
That was
keys.
Canelo.
Yeah, that was.
Oh, okay.
Canelo.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yours.
Well, I tell you what. I think the keys to victory, and we listen to.
Well, which one are you
The
starting
folks
with
on
first? Floyd?
I'll start with Floyd. But
Okay.
the keys to victory basically are just what I'm saying is you watch on TV, you watch on the internet, you read this and keys to victory. A lot of people try to put a game plan together for Floyd, and they just don't become fruitful. But anyway, keys to Floyd are simple. Floyd needs to just be Floyd. Okay, Floyd's got the shoulder roll, he's got the defense, he's got to be able to capitalize, he's got the quick release as far as the power right hand, and Floyd's just got to be Floyd. I don't think Floyd has to change anything in his game plan. He's just got to come in there with his defense, capitalize on mistakes that Alvarez does. Alvarez misses with the punch, come back with his punch, go back so he's not hit in his defensive mode. And I think for Floyd, it's going to be it's vintage Floyd. Defense enhances Floyd's offense, and I think if he does that and he does it successfully, he'll win the fight. Okay. Keys to victory for Alvarez. Okay. This is critical. Alvarez has to get away from that same momentum that everybody else has had. That they got to go in there and try to bully Floyd, because you're not going to bully Floyd. Okay. Number one, Alvarez has to not worry about hitting Floyd in the face. or in the head. Okay, you forget about that. You throw all that out. You don't go in there and just lose your composure trying to hurt Floyd. Okay, that's the wrong thing. People have tried that. It doesn't work. What you do is you stay in your own composure and you throw punches. Okay, and what I mean by this is you hit Floyd wherever. A punch is a punch. You hit him in his shoulder, you hit him in his elbow, you hit him on his glove, you hit him wherever. You don't target and get frustrated because you can't hit him in his face. You just hit Floyd anywhere you can with the legal punch. I'm not talking about the back, I'm talking about the shoulders. Thing. You wear out that arm. You wear out that quick release. You just got to hit. And you've got to stay. Distance is going to be the key to Canelo Alvarez. If he can fight Floyd at his distance, being the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter, he can win this fight. And that's distance. In other words, don't pull in to where you're making mistakes. Fight at your distance, at your jab distance, where you can capitalize on hitting him wherever he allows you to be hit. If he's got his glove up, hit the glove. If he's got his shoulder out, hit the shoulder. Just hit. Don't try to break his defense. Okay, the way you're going to break his defense is you hurt the defense. Okay, if he's successful in that, he can win this fight. Fight at his distance and just stay on target and keep going. Don't forget, Alvarez in his last fight against Trout showed a little elusiveness himself. He stood in the pocket and he moved. He had good movement and he wasn't allowed to hit. What's going to happen if he's successful in this and Floyd starts missing punches? Floyd don't miss a lot of punches. Floyd don't miss a lot of punches. But what happens when he throws that quick release and he misses?
But that's the difference.
Okay?
But the difference between Trout and Mayweather, though, is watching the Trout fight, you knew what he was doing. He was double jab, triple jab, left hand. Canelo probably saw that on the tape. With Floyd uses his shoulders, Floyd uses his feints, and Floyd pop shots. It's hard to slip those kind of punches because you don't know when they're coming, where they're coming from. I don't think, and if he pays too much attention to head movement and stuff like that, that's gonna throw him off his game plan. That's gonna put Floyd Mayweather in his comfortable role, and it's a 12-round shutout.
No, the head movement has to come from Canelo. Canelo has to be elusive. He's the one that has to be elusive, not to give. Floyd hits his target real good. Okay, so if you're just there for the Canelo has to be elusive. He has to stay in the pocket and he has to move. Because Floyd hasn't had an opponent that's elusive. He just hasn't had someone.
He hasn't. But if you watch Floyd Mayweather, a lot of the stuff he does is if he misses with the punch, he lands on top of you to where you can't counter him. But since he's such a master on how to throw punches from angles, if he misses that first one, that pop shot right hand, he's able to stay right on top of you, position his head and his shoulders, and hit you with the left hook to the body, or hit you with the left uppercut, or come over the top with the left hook. And I don't think Canelo is going to be prepared for that.
Well, I would agree with you this, Eric. In the third round of the Canelo-Trout fight, I think that's when Canelo took charge. He actually landed a shot to Austin Trout, and I think he hurt him and shocked him. Because from then on, he didn't want to get hit again from that shot. And then he did get a hit again in the sixth round.
Seventh round, yes.
Seventh round and went down. I don't think he's going to hit Floyd like that. But if he does, to your credit, if he does, it'll be interesting to see how Floyd reacts to actually getting hit, feeling his power. If that makes him, once again, we know he adapts. I would expect him, if he got hit like that, to adapt. That's why I have to take Floyd in the fight.
Well, I agree. How can you go against Floyd? I'm staying with my original thing. I think I'm going to go with Canelo. Close fight. I think he's going to be prepared. He's going to be ready. I think they'll have a rematch, just like which would be another mega fight, because it's not going to be a one-sided fight by all means. Okay, I just think it's going to be one of them fights where the fans are going to be the winners.
And everyone who follows me knows I'm a Mayweather fan. Like in a previous show, I said Mayweather made a statement: "Put me in a ring, anywhere in the world, I come out victorious." I think he's more amped for this fight than he's been for any fight in his career, and I think he's out to make a statement. I don't think it's a close fight. I think it's an easy 12-round decision, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mayweather stops him with the body shot between the 10th and 12th round.
With a body shot?
With a body shot.
He's gonna
tie. We said that Canelo has stamina problems. Okay, he's fought fighters who don't know how to take advantage of that. That ain't Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is gonna see him tired. He's gonna see him hurt. He's going to hit him with a body shot. And if that body shot don't finish him, he's going to pop shot him with something that does finish him. And like we said, hey, I think Floyd is out to, you said he's changing his image, right? A lot of changes in his image. He's becoming a big-time puncher. Oh, not a big-time puncher. You can't change that overnight. But stopping his opponents. That's always been a flaw that people say. He doesn't put his foot on the gas and stop his opponents. He might be wanting to change his image. He's looking to establish his legacy even greater than what it is already. This is the kind of fight you do it in. Chico Corrales, a lot of people said he couldn't do it. Put his foot on the gas, got him out of there in 7 rounds. 6 knockdowns.
Well, man, Chico Corrales is a weight drain. I'm not going to.
But this is another statement. This is another statement fight for Mayweather.
Well, let me tell you this, and I'm very serious when I tell you this. If Floyd Mayweather stops Canelo Alvarez on a body shot, I'll buy you a T-bone steak at Columbine.
You saw that.
That's right.
And I can walk to Columbine. That's in the hood. Yeah. We're right there.
Well, I'm going to take you to East Denver and make you walk back on.
Well, okay, guys. There's another thing. We'll keep you up to date on all the Mayweather Canelo news insight that comes up in the future segments. But as we are now, guys, it's a fight that we are all looking forward to.
And one thing before we go, Eric, I'll let you start off on this, but we had some news this past week where we had Denver's Mike Alvarado signed to fight Ruslan Provodnikov. Mm-hmm. If we can just take a second and talk about impressions of that fight, Eric, start with that one.
Oh, like we've been talking about the Showtime card from last night about Lucas Matisse and Danny Garcia. Here's another great fight for fans. Of course, I'm going to ride with Mike Alvarado. I've known him since amateurs. I've been covering his career since amateurs, his first 5 to 10 fights. I know him outside of boxing personally. He's a great guy regardless of what people say. I think Ruslan is just a one-trick pony. Maybe if he hits him and catches him enough, he can stop Alvarado. But what we've seen in the second Rios fight is Alvarado made adjustments. Mm-hmm. He was able to bang. He was able to box. He showed good foot movement. Ruslan has to get him early. If he can get him early, Alvarado's in trouble. If Alvarado falls into his game plan, into a comfortable, flow in the ring, I think he stops Ruslan late, and I think it's just a gruesome fight for both fighters. Eyes shut, noses busted up, and us fight fans go home happy.
I agree. It's going to be a great fight. Now, Mike Alvarado. People don't understand. Mike's got a chin. He's got a chin. He's got a very good chin, and his boxing is improving with every fight. Okay, I think Ruslan is out there begging. He picked on the wrong guy. Mile High Mike is going to just put an end to that, and Ruslan can just go back and try to pick on somebody else.
Yeah. This was a tough pick for me to make because all of us being Denver guys, we've always been supportive of Mike Alvarado. I'm still supportive of Mike Alvarado. But in this fight, I've got to take Ruslan Provodnikov just because I think that in this last fight that Mike had with Brandon Rios, I think all of his eggs were in that basket. I was very proud of him that, he made the adjustments. He said he came home, ran the mountains, was in the best shape of his life. I just don't think he can put that same energy in back-to-back fights. I'm going to take Provodnikov, and I'm going to take him by unanimous decision. I don't think he'll stop Mike, but I think he'll get the nod in the decision.
Now let me ask you guys something, because at the beginning of the show, when you guys mentioned that, I had not heard yet. I knew they were working on the fight, and there were some issues with purse issues and stuff, but I'm glad to see it happen. Is it going to be here in Denver?
Yes, it's going to be at the First Bank Center in Broomfield, Colorado.
Okay, good. Another reason for Ruslan
to pack it in,
to be concerned. Okay.
Well, let me just say this.
Wait a minute. Hold on. We ain't as bad as the New Mexican judges. I mean, we have bad judges, but usually it's between 2 Colorado fighters, and someone comes out on the wrong end. But we're not New Mexico, where the hometown fighter always gets his hand raised. So go ahead, Steven.
Remember, his name is Eric Duran. No, I just want to say this. If, like I said, if Mike is able to pull this off, more power to him. I will not be upset. I won't get you a steak on this one at all, because I would like to see Mike pull it off. I just think that Provodnikov, with that fight that he had with Timothy Bradley, I think he feels he has something to prove. He's a guy that feels he's underappreciated. And for him to take the fight to come into Mike's backyard, think that's exactly what he's saying here by I'll fight him anywhere. And I'm looking forward to a great fight. I'll stick with my pick.
You know, talking about judges and officials and stuff like that, I would be very surprised if this fight is scored with local Colorado judges and officials. I
would hope not.
Well, it won't. It won't have. Bob Arum is going to bring in his the officials. Yeah, you'll get one from from China, one from Nevada, but it's not going to be a local Colorado base. I wouldn't even be surprised if he didn't bring someone in like Dracula or something to.
You mean Stephen Blay isn't going to get the call?
I just don't see a fight this high profile using local officials. You know, I just don't.
My question is Joe Mason going to be there? That's my question.
Joe Mason will be at this fight. Joe
there.
Mason will not want that either way. You know, we'll have all the Colorado dignitaries.
but anyway, before we start,
I just hope I get a seat at ringside. That's all I hope for. Sorry, Joe.
But anyway,
just counted that out.
We're gonna let you guys go. I know you guys tuned in for the talk, but we got 2013 has been a fantastic year thus far.
As we predicted.
For boxing.
As we predicted.
Okay?
We all
predicted way back. And it continues to be that way. And I think anyone out there who even thought for a minute that boxing was dying need to come back.
Exactly. And the only thing we need to do is end the Cold War between Top Rank and Golden Boy. Who would not want to see Maidana versus Alvarez? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or Matisse versus Brandon Rios.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's end the Cold War.
A lot of good fights out there. So hopefully something will happen to make that possible. Of course, I'm not going to hold my breath.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But anyhow, guys, let's go ahead and end this segment. You guys come back and watch us on the next one because we got plenty of exciting video commentary for you guys. First Take got nothing on us. Okay? So in the meantime, till we be back, keep them hands up.